seconds.
What?
He said starts in 20 seconds.
I think I'm live. That's good.
Oh,
It works?
I think it's loading, I think.
Ask if you can
Awesome.
see.
Hi, can you see? Now can
you see you?
you see my face? I think it says I'm on the phone with you. Alright, you'll see me soon. Now you see me? Alright, pretty good.
Oh, I did. I put it on a 30-second delay.
That's fine.
Oh, so it's 30 minutes, but I think it's working.
I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah. Wi-Fi's on there too. Alright,
Oh, he's your tech. He's everyone. He's everybody's tech.
I will just see my piece.
Can they hear it?
Are you charging him as well?
You're not. I know.
Glad to hear. Oh, great. Thanks. Thanks. It's just what I do. Oh, there you go. Who's coming for
Do you want to
cocktails?
put it on there?
Let's just cocktail. He recorded.
That was cocktails.
Just record it
On like photo booth?
Yeah. Maybe on this side.
Once they start.
On that side?
Yeah, your shot's cocktail.
What?
Okay, everyone can go watch.
If everyone can please just go wash. Before we make a Siyum, it's customary to first wash, and then before we then start eating, after you make a motzi, we'll do this. We'll eat.
Okay. Okay. Where are you sitting?
Next to you right there. Very nice to see you.
Yes. It might be flaked. Soup might be flaked. Yeah, it's definitely
It's nice to see you at your place.
First vertical.
It's good to see you standing out. Listen, the citizens that you don't know it's yours. It might be a polka dots on it, but it's not, nobody sees it. Right. You know what? That is something not exactly. Not exactly. It gets better. It's never especially in the back. Real too. But if you have issues with infections, you really dig it so far, wherever you want to see it. You know what they say, every once in a while,
Is that what that?
Hi, how you doing? Hi. Start.
Destination wedding. I don't want to. The Tel Aviv. Because she's a Tel Aviv.
That's what you have to be doing.
I'm not. I know your daughter. I want to her and Danielle met out
You know what the greatest thing is? I get to talk to them.
Great to see you standing vertical.
I told you to do some else. There's no secret.
Okay, again, if everyone could please be seated. A Shloshim. A Shloshim is a time of transition. It's a time when some of the Avelim are concluding their formal Avelas, the formal mourning. It's when children are transitioning to a still intense but a little less of a type of Avelis, form of Avelis that they've been experiencing the past 30 days. It's a time of reflection. It's time to think about what has taken place, how life has been lost, and how our lives have been impacted. We know that the idea of Shloshim goes all the way back to the Torah. In fact, there are at least 3 people in the Torah that were directly or indirectly told that there was a period of mourning, a 30-day mourning period. When Yaakov were told that there was 40 days where they embalmed his body in Egypt, and then there was a 70-day period. And Rashi points out it was 40 days for the embalmment and 30 days of bechia, 30 days of crying. And Rashi there says that the crying that was experienced was a collective crying. The entire Egyptian society mourned Yaakov's death because he had brought so much bracha, so much blessing to the Egyptians. When he had arrived, the famine had ended, the Nile began to overflow, and there was produce for the people, and therefore the lack of bracha that they now experienced and recognized was heartfelt, and there were tears poured out of the Egyptians, in addition to, of course, to his family, because of the deep loss. And then we're told that when Aaron dies, Aaron a Kohen as well, there's another 30-day period of mourning. And there we're told that the entire Jewish people, Kol Beis Yisrael, everyone mourns. Rashi explains that it mentions that the entire Jewish people mourn because Aaron was the Ohev Shalom and the Rodei Shalom. Aaron brought people together, men and women, people who were quarreling, husbands and wives who were disagreeing, and there was tension within the relationship. And the loss of Aaron was felt by the entire Jewish people because of what he had done for them throughout their lives. And then finally we're told that when Moshe Rabbeinu died, also there was a 30-day period of mourning. And that it was over the loss of Torah, the leadership and the Torah that Moshe taught the Jewish people throughout the years in the desert, that they felt that profound deficiency now in their lives, and therefore brought out great tears and mourning for 30 days. And so too, this evening, we mourn the passing and reflect upon the life of Neil Bamberger. There's family gathered here, and family gathered, they're watching as we gather this evening. They think back to the life of their husbands, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, cousin, great-grandfather, and extended family and friends. They think about someone like Yaakov who brought so much bracha to their lives, who impacted them in such a profound way, who brought such joy, such simcha. Someone who brought, like Aaron, a Kohen, brought the family together and created achdus amongst the family and amongst friends and within the community. And someone like Moshe Rabbeinu, someone who taught them Torah, who taught them how to live as Jews, who came from himself a great tradition, a great family lineage, and transmitted that to subsequent generations. It's a difficult time, it's a painful time, but it's also time to reflect on what a blessing it was, and the messages and the profound impact that lasts forever, that never goes away. We have the opportunity now to hear from and the grandson from Yehuda, who's going to Messiah. The family and friends studied Maseches Moed and Maseches Mishnais Moed and Mishnais of Noshim. I'll just say, Yehuda, as you come forward, I'll never forget that I believe the last time I saw your grandfather was here at your bar mitzvah, and to see and it was a difficult time when he was here. He wasn't well, but the tears that coming down his face, both at the Chassid Sefer Torah, as well as when you were called to the Torah and he came up for his aliyah. I'll never forget those tears of joy that he felt he experienced at that time. And I'm sure Shemayim now looking down to see you this time, very much nachas.
Nehorai, who was really Rabbi Ner, Omer, Maniach ani kol maniot shebaolam ve'eni melamed et b'ni ela Torah. I am willing to put aside all other jobs in the world and teach my son only Torah. She'adam ochel mishchara ba'olam hazeh v'keren kemet l'olam haba. Because all other crafts in the world are important, but will stay in this world. Torah, on the other hand, will go with you to olam haba. U'sha'ar kol maniot inan ken. All of the crafts in this world are not like that. You can be the best businessman in the world, and that alone wouldn't make you go to that. It wouldn't go with you to Olam Haba. If a person is sick, old, or suffering, and cannot work, they will die of starvation. But I took that. Ela mishmarto mikol ra, it will protect you from all evil. Bena'aruto v'notenet lo acharit v'tikva beziknato, and it will give you hope when you are old and sick. Bena'aruto mahu omer, well, one is young, it says v'koveh Hashem yachalifo koach, those that hope for strength. Beziknuto mahu omer, while one is elderly in the age, it says, Odinibum besiva. Again, they will blossom out in their old age. It's talking about Avraham when he's old. It says, Hashem berech et Avraham bakol. Hashem blessed him with everything. Matinu shasa Avraham avinu et kol Torah kula ad shelo nitana. Abraham kept the Torah before it was even given. Shneimar, it says, Ekev asher shama Abraham bekoli vayishmor mishmarti mitzvotai chukotai v'toratai. Abraham kept the Torah, kept all the different kinds of laws in the Torah before it was even given.
Lonis Nashay Minach Seder Nashim Seder Moed, Lonis Nashay Minan, Lava Mahadim Velo, Lava Mataya, Ardinella Hinu, Esther Vaso, Schaba Fino, Fiosa, Machab Base Israel, Veniak, Lana Nachman, Enu, It's Machab Base Israel, Colonial Deshmacha, Blondes, Rasach, Lishma, Moivai, Techam, Kani, it's Vasecha, Kili Olam Hili, Hili Bisamin, the Chukecho, Eshkach. Pikudecha kivam chisani. Baruch atah Adonai lamdeni chukecha. Amen, amen, amen. Shalom. Modim anachnu lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'lehev l'seinu shesamta chalkeinu miyoshvei beis hamidrash v'lo miyoshvei karanios she'anu mashkimim v'heim mashkimim anu mashkimim v'divrei Torah v'heim mashkimim v'dvarim b'telim anu amelim v'heim amelim anu amelim u'mekablim sachar v'heim amelim v'einam l'kublayim sachar anu ratzim v'heim ratzim anu ratzim l'chai olam haba v'heim ratzim l'be'er shachas she'nemar v'yata Elohim Toridem v'er shachas anshe dami u'mirma lo yachatzu yamehem v'ani yaftach bach yosum v'nahai kashem zartani l'sayim seder nashim v'seder moed kach tazreni l'haskil sedarim u'sefarim acherim l'saimam l'mod u'lam l'shmor v'lasos l'kayim es kol d'brei salmot terzecha b'yava u'zechus kol hatanayim v'talmidei chachamim hanizkarim v'seder nashim ta'amod v'seder nashim v'seder moed tamod li l'zari shel tamud haTorah mipi zari v'zara zari ad olam V'koyam bi v'his halechecha tanche osach v'shachbecha tishmor alecha v'hakitzosa hi tesichecha ki v'yirbu yamecha v'yosifu l'cha shenos chayim orech yamim b'yamina v'smola osher v'chavod Adonai oz Moitain Adonai Yivarech Hashem V'Shalom. Kedam Yiskadash Meirama V'Yama De'is Chadata U'Achaya Mesaya U'Asaka Yashon V'Chay Alma U'Mivnei Karta Yerushalayim U'Shachlel Hechalei B'Garva U'Mekar Ulchana Nuchra'a Me'ara Ul'asava Ulchana Dishmaya Da'asra Yamlich Kedusha Brichu Malchusei Yikarei V'yatzmach B'pnei B'kar Mishichei B'chayachon B'mechon B'chay L'chol Beis Yisrael Bag Allah V'zman Karev V'mir Amen. Shemei Rabba M'varach V'zlam Emaya Yisbarach V'yishtabach V'yisvar V'yisramam V'yisnasei V'yishador V'yisalev V'yisalol Shemei Kedusha Elo V'kavar Chasab V'shirasa Tush B'chasab Nechmasad Amiram B'yamav V'mir Amen. Yisrael B'Rabbanan B'Altimidehon B'Alkal Tamidei Samadehon B'Alkal Mom Doskim B'Yaraisa V'Yivrasa Hadim V'Yivachal Asar B'Ason Shlom Rabba Chino V'Chista V'Rachamei V'Chaya Richei V'Muzen V'Vichei V'Furkana Min Kadama V'Yishmai V'Rab V'mir Amen. Hey Shalom Rabba and Shemai V'Chaim Tov Malin Kol Yisrael V'mir Amen. V'Seh Shalom V'Malvia V'Seh Shalom Aleinu Kol Yisrael V'mir Amen.
Okay, everyone can now please take some food, and then just in a few moments we're going to hear words of Zikaron from Debbie, from Shiri, God willing, and from Rabbi Goldberg.
Oh, oops.
It's still going.
The battery low?
It was still going.
It could reach. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is the charger here?
See the orange light.
You did awesome. Good job.
Good job.
Michigan.
Stumbled a little.
That's perfect.
Yeah, this kind of stumbled a lot. Thank you. Alright, it's all towards all that worst
Good, perfect. All right, good.
Represent in some ways, okay, if everyone can just take your food, because we want to continue in just another moment. Everyone find their seats. They're entirely new fighters. At least portions of them. Unfortunately, everything goes 4 minutes later, the whole world. I understand that. I had some stuff like that. You did? No. I heard something very briefly about it. Could have been a candidate, but
It started out okay. I don't know what. I mean, how many blocks have we put 75 blocks? 1,000? It's like 1,000. Detroit was 2 or 3 a day. Where they have done, where they. Most days go. I'll tell you what it was. There was a culture. Don't tell the news. Don't tell them anything. Yeah. No, he wasn't allowed Jim, they waited. He lied for admission. That's disgusting. Jeeps right now. Last year, I don't remember the flow still on New Year's Eve day. New Year's Eve. She's going to work New Year's Eve.
Go back to New Year's Eve.
Still during the day. And she was there, the car blew up. Oh, it blew up. Yes. Pinto had 70. One galaxy had a kid. Remember that? The whole road was burnt down. This guy, this woman rather,
My family is.
was getting married that weekend. She had a clubhouse stop there. She had his room in there. The car blew up. That's what they had a problem. No. Problem is fixed. You know what the fix is on it? They had a recall. The trailer was shut. That's what they did. That's not. The Pinto was $9. But she paid me, let's say it's $100. $9. That's really save agency. It's all right to go for.
Okay, we're going to continue now.
Yeah. Don't say anything about that.
Everyone can just please find their seats.
I heard someone say, well, two different. I'm surprised people that
You know, for many of us, this is the first opportunity in a formal way to come together and to express our sincere condolences to the family. The Kfura and the Shiva, of course, we're not here in Detroit, and so for many of us, it's an opportunity to express our sincere feelings of sadness and comfort to the family. One thing that you miss out when you're not at the Shiva, and you're not at the Kfura, you miss the stories, and you miss hearing about everything that the individual passed away, everything that they did, and how they impacted so many different lives. You know yourself the impact on a personal level you had with the Nifter. You don't always hear the larger picture. And so right now we have the opportunity to hear from Debbie. We'll share as a daughter, and then from a Shiri who literally just came in, landed, and will be sharing her feelings and her memories as representing all the grandchildren.
My father was my role model and my mentor. He set the bar high for how a father should treat his children, how a husband should treat his wife, his parents, brother, his siblings, and how a man should treat his friends. My father had a good life. It was not always easy, but he was satisfied. He often said to my sister Annette and me, "Ezehu Ashir Hasamech B'Chalko." And what made him happy was being with my mom, the love of his life, being with his two girls, and being with his extended family. My father was born in 1928 in Würzburg, Germany. In 1932, with the rise of Hitler, Yamach Shemo, my grandparents decided to relocate to Denmark, where my father's mother had originally been born, so they could raise their kids in relative safety. They moved to Denmark. My grandparents had the foresight to give their kids Danish names, even though they were born in Germany. My father was Nils and his siblings Ip, Bjorn, and Helen. So they moved to Copenhagen, and it was smooth for them. They had a shul in their home in Copenhagen, and my dad told us later he was allowed to date my mom as long as he always made it home in time for minyan. My family grew up hearing stories about his childhood in Denmark. One favorite was the time his mom sent him a cheese sandwich to school for lunch, and he said it smelled so bad that he threw it in the trash can at school. And somehow when he got home from school, his mom found out about that, and she took him by the ear back to school. They walked to school, and he had to fish the sandwich out of the trash can and sit down and eat it later that afternoon. Needless to say, I grew up not being allowed to waste food. When the Germans occupied Denmark in April of 1940. At first, the Germans acted with surprising restraint, and life went on as normal. My dad and his siblings went to school. They saw the presence of the German guards, but no one was being bothered for a few years. Until Hitler got word that there was an occupied country where the Jews were living freely. So he sent a message to a German officer in Denmark that they should round up the Jews on Rosh Hashanah, chosen because of the night that they knew the Jews would be home. My father described how they were in shul in 1943, Erev Yom Kippur, and the rabbi made an announcement. The underground had gotten word. Thank you, Erev Rosh Hashanah. The underground had gotten word of what was happening, and the rabbi said, "Don't go home tonight. You have to go right into hiding." And they did. My grandparents had been told by their grocer in advance, if ever anything happens, come to me. So they took their 4 kids, and the grocer hid them. And he used to go out every morning. My father described how the sacks of potatoes, he was looking for passage for them from Denmark to safety in Sweden. My mom has a very similar story of how her family was saved. And if you look in our hallway, we have some beautiful artwork that Martin Lowenberg put together depicting this amazing historic event where virtually all of the 8,000 Jews in Denmark were saved by being taken on fishing boats across to Sweden. Soon after my father's family arrived in Sweden, it was now Erev Yom Kippur, and they were in a displaced persons camp, and my grandfather said, "We have to go to shul." And the Swedish government, although they were very kind to the Jews, the guards at the prison said, "I'm sorry, you can't leave. We have to account for everyone here." So my grandparents took the kids and left school on Yom Kippur, and then they weren't allowed back in because they hadn't followed the rules. So just imagine, they left the safety and security of the displaced persons camp so that they wouldn't miss going to shul. This is the type of family my father came from. This is why Yiddishkeit was so important to him. There was no compromise. It was all black and white. And that's why my father, when I grew up, my father loved his Yiddishkeit. He loved Shabbos. And he often told my sister Annette and me that his favorite was Yom Kippur. He loved Yom Kippur. He loved going to shul. He was given the key to the shul in Englewood to Abbas Torah because he was always the first one there every morning. And the people in Englewood told me they loved him very much and he loved them. My father used to tell us, how did you go late to shul? You wouldn't go late to a movie. This is what was important to him. My grandmother survived after they were thrown out of the displaced persons camp. They opened a kosher restaurant. She had a built-in clientele because it was the same people that knew her from Denmark that were now in Sweden, and she used to cook for her minions so that she would entice people to come. And that's how they survived in Sweden. And then there was another Danish miracle after the war in May of 1945. They went back to Denmark, and none of their things had been touched. The table was still set for the Rosh Hashanah meal in silverware, the meal that never happened because they didn't go home. The shul was intact. Nothing was taken. There were mice or rats that had eaten the food, but nothing was stolen. And even more incredible, the non-Jews who had been part of the family business, my grandparents had an antique store, they had kept the business running for the 2 years they were in Sweden, and there was an envelope with money that the business had made sitting in their house waiting for them. I don't know of any other country where you would hear such a story. I want to tell you how my parents met. There was a Danish club in a Jewish club in Denmark, and my dad had stopped going because he said there were never any pretty girls there. One night he got a call from a friend of his, you better come tonight, there's a beautiful girl here, my mom. And it was love at first sight. She was only 17, and he waited until she finished school to get married. They got married in Denmark on December 26, 1955, and emigrated to America 3 months later. The day they arrived in America, my father bought a car. He always loved cars. And he got a job in a bank. He was good with numbers. That's where I have it from. And the bank, they liked him very much. He was doing a great job. Came time, Rosh Hashanah, he asked for 2 days off, and the manager said no problem. And then came Yom Kippur, and he was given a day off for Yom Kippur. And then came Sukkot, and he again asked for a day off, and that time the manager said, you know what, you can have off, but don't come back. And that's when my father opened his own business. He was on 3rd Avenue. He opened an antique shop with Scandinavian imports, porcelain, art, and he later moved to Madison Avenue. He was cherished by his neighbors and his loyal customers for over 50 years. He had that business. My parents were married for over 60 years. Even in my father's years, he never complained. We never heard him say, why is this happening to me? He was selfless. He would say to my mom, I feel so bad for you that you have to go through with this. He was also a devoted son. He was selfless. When we were growing up, we used to go every Shabbos after shul. We would go visit his mother, and then we would go home for lunch. And he was an amazing father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. He used to play games with us. We played chess and backgammon and Stratego, and then he had made-up games like Astronaut and Spaceman, and shakes with my kids, and lots of inside jokes. On Sukkot, when the grandkids would be afraid of the bees, my father would show them how he would let the bee sit on his arm and crawl up and down his arm to show them that if you don't bother the bee, they won't sting you. He was kind to animals. He had a pet squirrel in his home in Englewood. He used to go outside and call Snooky, and the squirrel would come and get fed. Aaron and Jay loved going to visit him. If he was too young to voice that, but we're very fortunate that a year ago this week my father was here for Avi's bris. What stands out the most to me, and what I hope to always remember, is my father's deep love of Hashem that was so apparent. He stood for an unshakable belief that everything that we have is due to Hashem. If I'd be driving with him in the city and he'd find a parking spot, he would say, Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tak is Danish for thank you. Or if we'd be driving and we'd get a series of green lights, Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I grew up hearing this often for ordinary things. If it was a beautiful sunny day out, or the Friday night brisket came out delicious. Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Tak Mami. He would compliment and thank my mother often. You look so beautiful, or you're working so hard, or thank you for everything you do for me. My sister and I remember going, sometimes they would pass the jewelry store and my mom might point something out, and more than once it would be sitting a wrapped box at my mother's seat at the Shabbos table with a note that said something like, thank you for being you. We weren't allowed to leave the table without saying tak famel. After benching, we would thank Mom for the meal before we got up. And then my father would thank Hashem for his family, for his wife, and for his kids. In my father's memory, we have our friends here to help carry out his legacy by being his legacy of being grateful to Hashem, by using the books on the table to write down things we appreciate. You might have a friend or your parent or your child or a coworker who does something small that you appreciate, and after you thank them, write it down in the book as a reinforcement of all the things we have for which we're grateful. Like my father, perhaps we can develop the habit of saying Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even for otherwise ordinary things. My first entry in the book will be Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving us Nili Zahava. My granddaughter was born just 8 days after my father's passing. She was named Nili after Niels and after my father, and Zahava after Hershey's mother, Aleichem HaShalom. I got up from Shiva on Tuesday morning, and Nili was Wednesday morning. I got a call from Mikala Menachem to come to Florida. I was very fortunate to be by my father's bedside when he took his last breath. And I was fortunate to be with Nili when she took her first breath. Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nili is an acronym for Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker. And unknown to any of us, the day that we named Nili in Shul, the first Shabbos after she was born, we read the Haftorah for Pasha Zachar, which came from Shmuel Aleph, and that was the one time a year that sentence, Netzach Yisrael Lo Yishaker, in the Torah, in Mikra Ba'olam. My second entry in the gratitude book will be Tak HaKadosh Baruch Hu for this community, for all of you who came out tonight to help me honor my father. I so appreciate everyone being here tonight. And thank you all for trying to use these books to remember what was so clear to my dad, that we have so much for which to be thankful, and it's all due to Hashem. May our efforts be an aliyah neshama for my father, Nissan, and Hachaver.
Sure. You ready? You want to wait? You want to wait? You want to wait? I guess we're going to go first. Okay.
That was awesome. I'm really sorry. I'm going to be kind of looking at my lap from my school, and I wasn't able to print this out. You know, that's pretty unprofessional. Okay. Thank you all for coming. It's really good to see all of our close family and friends and like amazing community here tonight. They're members of my grandpa. So I just want to talk on behalf of my brothers and sisters and my brother and cousins to share a few stories about our grandpa, who we all loved very much growing up. First, I want to say, although he got sick toward the end of his life, growing up with our grandpa and growing up in our lives was really the best thing ever. I know not every kid gets to grow up with grandparents, amazing grandparents, and I feel so thankful that I got to grow up with my grandma and grandpa, who I really learned a lot from. Really, my grandpa was a great role model from inspiring me to be a Torah learner at first stage, to always, having a sense of humor, and of course to teaching me some of life's greatest lessons. The one story I just want to tell you guys about that really stuck out to me, really showed my grandpa's patience that he had with us. I think I was like 14 years old and I had to take my driving test. I was so nervous. I had no idea how to parallel park. I was very freaked out. I was sitting at my kitchen table and I just remember looking around and like, am I holding something? I was too busy to help a 14-year-old who's probably being annoying. And my grandpa came up to me and he, like, as soon as he heard what was going on, he sat down next to me and took the time, which took a really long time, to show me like exactly. I remember he took like 2 little pencils. It was kind of funny actually. He showed me exactly how to like maneuver into parallel parking spot, when to make the turn, how many, seconds, whatever. It took kind of a long time, but he was very willing to help me, and I must say, to this day, I'm a pretty good parallel parker, and I definitely have my grandpa to thank for that. As a lot of had an amazing sense of humor, whether it was telling Torah jokes or, to the more inappropriate ones. Yeah, like that's what she said last night. He always knew how to make me or anyone he was surrounded by laugh. The best part was he didn't even try. He was just hilarious, whatever he said. It was really pleasant to be with him. One of my favorite things that he would say is if we were sitting at a table or going anywhere and someone would offer him vegetables, oh, you want some carrots or celery, he would say, oh, no, my doctor doesn't allow it. So that always gave us a good laugh. Yeah, and any humor that I ever say, I don't know, definitely comes from my grandpa, so have him to thank for that. And a secret that you guys might not know, my grandpa was a very big late-night party animal. A few weeks ago, I was visiting my cousins in Texas. It was a really good time. My grandparents were both there. I think it was for Thanksgiving. And one of the nights, we were all kind of chilling. My cousin Lee asked if I wanted to go out, hit the town. And yeah, I said, sure, why not? Go have a good time with my cousin. My grandparents, I think they were falling asleep or something. I felt kind of bad going out, but I basically did it anyways. And when we got back, I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning or something. I don't know. For sure, we expected everybody to be asleep, which was kind of unfortunate because we were both pretty awake, even though it was 2 o'clock in the morning. We got back, and we opened the door, only to find my grandpa sitting in this chair, like, music around him, huge. He was having like literally a party on his own. It was quite beautiful. And we're like, oh my God, Grandpa! And of course we sat there. He was like belting out a song. One of his favorite songs, you guys probably know it, went like, she's got a ticket to ride. Something like that. And like, we sat with him. We just had the most amazing time ever. And like, let me remind you, it was almost like 3 in the morning at this point. And it was just a really, I'm happy that I feel really lucky to be able to have that at the time, to have such a cool grandpa that I could do this with, sing and eat with at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was very fun. So one of the last things I want to say about my grandpa was having to do with like, he was kind of an inspiration to me to like be the Torah learned person that I am today. Because I tried to be. So half a year ago or so, I spent a weekend at my grandparents' house. It was very fun. I like going to their house for the weekend. I just remember one of the nights I was there, he was like pretty tired, a bit too tired to walk to shul that night. So I said, okay, we'll grab him Mari by your house. Kind of just said, yeah, I stood next to him at his kitchen table, and we basically said the entire Mari together. It was really an amazing experience. I saw like how to be able to stay the Mari, even though he didn't make it to shul. And like I just remember after we davened together, I obviously miss davening days and stuff, but we like looked at each other and kind of both felt a bit more uplifted. You know, we shared a smile, and at that moment, it just made me realize like the importance of taking a break in your day to daven, connect with Hashem, Kodesh Baruch Hu, and I'm just happy to have had that experience to stand as like a daily reminder to me of the importance of saying the daily tefillah and of what it can really do to change one's day and uplift a moment. So again, thank you all for being here. I want to say, as my mom mentioned, my grandpa would always say what I was saying, like Taka Kadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for the light turning green or finding a parking spot, anything. So I just want to say I'm so thankful to have such an amazing community that I grew up with. I really feel like I had the best childhood, the best life because of the community that brought me up. Also, I want to say thank Taka Kadosh Baruch Hu for giving me an amazing grandma who's still here with me today. Grandma, I love you so much. I think you're like the coolest grandma ever, and I'm so excited to. I'm serious. Like I'm so excited to go out with you and bring you out with me, go to concerts and stuff. And I'm just really looking forward to sharing many more life experiences with you and learning a lot from you.
You know how fortunate and how blessed Debbie and Mrs. Bamberger and the entire family felt, the comfort that they received when on very short notice, Rabbi Goldberg, when he heard of the passing, he immediately dropped everything that he was doing, and he flew in immediately to New York to be with the family during the funeral, the beginning of Shiva. And Debbie felt it was most appropriate to ask Rabbi Goldberg to share some thoughts as well this evening.
Thank you so much. Please don't stand up, because usually people stand up and walk out, and that's a little scary for me. I appreciate this honor. The good news for everyone is I am the last speaker, so nothing to be concerned about. It's so appropriate that the Siyum was on Nashim and Moed, aspects of life with women, and Moed. Moed means the time, the series, the festivals, that which is associated with sanctity, but requires a time element. Because his life was really about women and Moed, his association with the synagogue, with being punctilious for praying exactly at the right time. He really was the first person in the synagogue. The rabbi spoke about it at the funeral with great feeling. We just said in the Siyum itself some words that are so appropriate. Hadra Cholon, we will return to you. Hadran Aloch. We ask the Masechta, that which we've learned, you return to us, and we'll return to you. Daitan Aloch, our mind, our thoughts are on you. And we say to the Masechta, we just learned your thoughts on us. Lo nisnashim minon, you will not be forgotten by us, and we know that we will not be forgotten by you. It's not by accident that the letters of the word Mishnah are exactly the same as the letters of the word Neshama, the soul and the spirit of the oral law, that which is infinite, but that which is eternal, really defines that which is just the corpus of a Torah scroll. Without the Mishnah, there's no Neshama of Torah. Without the oral law, there's no breath, there's no life, there's no continuity. But when a person lives and creates a family, as in Seder Nashim, and knows the importance of time of Moed, there comes a point in life, and yes, I was also the participant. We had some fun dinners in Miami and so many years that we had together here. He never sang the Ticket to Ride song to me, but that's okay. But there is a ticket. And when a person lives a life that's focused on Moed, and his life with his family on Nashim is to create children and grandchildren, but the commitment, and there are not too many stores in Madison Avenue that always closed in time for Shabbat. People told him, you can't do it. But he did it, because there's Moed, there's a time for everything. And when a person has a concept, when a person has an appreciation of that Moed, then his children and his grandchildren can come forward and say, Hadron Alach v'Hadron Alon. We will return together. We will never forget, and you will never forget, because our thoughts are always upon you, as your thoughts are always upon us. This is the cycle of life, a cycle that Debbie describes so beautifully with now the beautiful Hachaver, who I had a chance to meet just last week in Miami, in Hollywood, Florida. She also doesn't sing the Ticket to Ride song, but B'ezras Hashem, she'll sing that song which allows all of the Jewish people to have a ticket to ride both in this world, hopefully, to a new Beit HaMikdash, and in the next world, to bring the worlds together, because we won't forget you, and you, our dear friend, won't forget us. So as we are Messiahim, when we conclude, we promise to begin. And when we begin, we promise to conclude, because that is this period of HaChodesh. This is the time that we recognize the continuity of time. The Shabbos of Rosh Chodesh, the Parshat HaChodesh. Time begins and ends on a circle of the infinite, when our ticket to ride is the Torah and our destination is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when a person knows that they've traveled their life on that voyage, that journey through the sands of the beaches of Denmark, through the walls of a new world, but wherever he was, it was always Moed. There was a time for the Beit Knesset, a time for continuity, a time for Torah. And when a person lives like that, that's forever. So Shalom B'Shef and Aliyah.
Everyone just take a little bit more time just to finish eating this dessert, and then we'll bench shortly.
I still remember many years ago. I'm way in the back of the room. I get up to meet Debbie, so she's sitting there.
I know, I will never ever live this down in my entire So they said, fine, right, stay. Stay. When I come home and I'm married, the only
Yeah.
Something on FaceTime.
Oh.
So you mentioned about, well, it's not
Right. Yeah. I said it's Davidic. I didn't say it.
I never heard that. Somebody does it.
So Donnie looked into it.
So I never did that.
Yeah. Because Donald faces. Right. Right. So they say Jeff Mitzvah Donald faces. I guess that's what we should say that I'm up for yourself. It's not how long because they have. We do it like differently on phonetically. Yeah, no, I said something. It takes up half the time. It takes a long time. I said another halacha that's going to get you in trouble because I told them by our Seder everyone has their own matzahs. Even though we have a car, everyone has a matzah, so everyone do yachad, so everyone can make their own matzah. You told you that little. It is, yeah. No one's supposed to get too big payments. A lot of times, there's more argument between the two nights, everyone's going to get one. So it's not that same, fighting over it. That was another. Hopefully, as he writes everything down, so there's a lot of. He's really good. He's had a good stretch. He's then helping what we started before that he had with that Siyum. Yeah, that's a couple weeks ago. He's coming along. Nice progress. Yeah. Right, it's developing. I could hear it. I feel like this. Yeah, the boss was walking in. It seems like he's, I'm going to be here at least the first day, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, not a lot of big town business. It's a small class. There's not much that the town kids we got nice.